Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, welcome to the program. We got a good guest for you. His name is Dave Frantz. He is a high school golf coach in the Sarasota area, in the Bradenton area, Lakewood Ranch area. Second coach that we've had on Party Time, My Golf Story. The first was Jeff Page from Babson College in Wellesley, Massachusetts. And we're going to get into the dynamics of high school golf. But Dave Frantz's story is a very interesting one, from where he grew up, what he's done in the business. Retired school teacher, retired from coaching golf, then got back into it and does some other things. He is also a fellow resident of where I live and where this podcast originates from, Lakewood National Golf Club. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of beer or crappy seltzers, particularly ones that are named after a certain time of the day or certain crustaceans or whatever, try Party. And if it's not being served at where you play golf, then tell the golf staff about it. Say, I want a Party. I demand a Party. And you'll be glad you did, and so will the club, because it's more revenue for them. For golfers, by golfers, smooth. And that's the bottom line on that. And a big thanks to the golf real estate pros of Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh from suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. If your dream is to live in a golf resort community, and there's no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club, then get in contact with Gene and Vince, because they'll help you out. They're residents here as well, and they can speak to you about anything you need to know, and also the market conditions, because a lot of people are like, well, what's going on with the market right now? Is it slowing down? Is it heating up? Vince and Gene can take care of you, and I can tell you, we might have a guest appearance by Gene to give you a rundown, a lowdown on what's going on, and clear up some confusion if there is any about that. All right, so let's get into it with the man of the hour, Dave Frantz, head golf coach of the Lakewood Ranch High School Mustangs, is joining us. Hey, man, it's good to finally have you on the program. What exactly is behind you?
This is my my wife's office, but it's also kind of my trophy room. We collect a lot of trophies throughout the season, and then some of them are plaques. We do a plaque every year, and those are my championship rings up there, and just knickknacks and stuff. There's a lot more that I haven't displayed. Some of it's actually down in the garage. So if you're ever in Lakewood National and you're out walking your dog down Worsham, come on over. I'll show you the garage. A lot of great memories, a lot of great stuff.
Well, you've had your program at Lakewood Ranch High School is an absolute juggernaut. There's no other way to say it. And it's almost like it's a lot different than my high school golfing experience, for sure. And I want to drill down on that and get into it. But before we do that, what are you wearing? That shirt is cool. That is banging. What is it?
So yeah, you can see it scrolling there. There's a couple of brothers that played golf for me. They're fraternal twins. They're the Walters twins, John and Ron. And they started producing, they've always worked in the products business. They started with tumblers, And now they've branched out. They do these golf shirts where they can basically take any type of symbol or emblem that you have. In our case, it's LRs from our Lakewood Ranch high school motif. There's some Mustang pictures on here and the whole deal. And I think a lot of the golfers probably have seen these before, but we are making it into a specialty. So this year, our golf team is doing the white one, and we also have a green one that has all of these emblems on it. And we've already reached out to a lot of high schools around the state. We've got several Vero Beaches wearing them. So it's a really great product. It's a really great shirt. And the best part is you don't have to go ahead and get them embroidered because it already has your high school emblem and your name, your logo all over the shirt.
That's cool. Nothing better than cool looking swag.
Yeah.
Birdie King is the name of the company. Dave Frantz, the head golf coach at Lakewood Ranch High School, is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks and the golf real estate professionals of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from suncoastdreams.com. So before we get into what happened today, you came straight from the golf course, as did I, and you're riding some kind of a high. What happened?
Well, this year we took 14 kids on the team, which we hardly ever do. Last year we were runner-up in the state, and we kind of call them the green team, which is the tournament team that goes to the state tournament and all that. But this year we had enough players to have what we call a silver team, and they're our developmental players. And the majority of them, all of them, are freshmen and sophomores, and have only been playing for at the most a year and a half. And they shot scores today in a match. Even though we lost by 2 shots, they shot 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44. And that's just crazy when you consider that they've dropped an average of probably 4 or 5 shots just in the last month of being with us in our program. So it's exciting. It was fun.
Well, the future is bright, and they have a lot to aspire to, and they can just look over at the kids that are on the varsity team and just say, that's where I want to be. And is that not kind of the story of the program, is just people rising up and the older kids helping the younger kids out, even though it is competitive internally?
Yeah, actually this year we did a little thing like fraternities. We have a big brother and a little brother. And tomorrow they all want to continue the match play, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, the more experienced players will help the younger ones. That's kind of how we grow. And we took on another assistant coach this year. I've got 2 great assistants who are helping me, and they're younger guys because I'm the old guy around. And it's great. It's a lot of fun every day.
Here she is, my better half, and half of the Vizzacaro Walsh team at suncoastdreams.com. A division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. How's it going, honey?
It's going great. Thank you, Kevin.
Did you enjoy the podcast last week and your appearance talking about Kevin Roy?
Absolutely. Great job, Kevin. You got your tour card back.
Yeah, we're proud of him. What about this week? You enjoying the podcast with Coach Dave Frantz?
Yes, Lakewood Ranch High School. They're going to be hard to beat.
Juggernaut. This is a high school team. It probably could have beat my college team at Purdue. Hey, let's talk about the market, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, So last week you said the market was heating up a little bit. Where are we now?
We're still heating up. More buyers are coming down. We've had a few properties go pending this weekend, and so it's a good time.
Cool. Is there any property in particular that you'd like to showcase?
I would. There's a beautiful home, a single family, 4-bedroom, 2-bath on Hickok Belt Loop. And I have a video of it that I'm going to show in just a second. But what I want to say about this home is that it has gorgeous upgrades on the interior, and the exterior is on a beautiful preserve lot. So if you want to be on a golf course, but you don't want to see golfers in your backyard, this home is for you because there's privacy.
Okay, cool. Let's have a look. time. So if anybody wants to see it, what do they do?
Just give me a call, myself or Vince Vizzacaro, and we'll do a private tour.
Sounds good. Gene Walsh, suncoachdreams.com.
On every day.
Thanks, Kat.
How old are you, Dave?
64. I'll be 65 next month.
Man, you look young. You got baby face,
Oh,
kind of like me. That's good. But
That's great to hear.
does being around the kids keep you young?
It does until you reach. There are times where I'll reach my limit, but I spent almost 40 years in the classroom, so I kind of hopefully am in touch with being able to maintain my cool and keep order and keep sanity and keep the ship moving forward, because that is something that we always want to work on is making sure that we're doing things the right way.
And having some younger assistant coaches who have played at the highest levels, that certainly helps. Can that bridge the gap when old fart Dave coach is not quite connecting with the 13-year-old?
It is. There are actually two different guys. Brian Ross actually teaches at the school, so he's our school liaison, and he does a great job of keeping morale and keeping everybody up. He's kind of not really new to golf himself, but he's learning the game and is getting better all the time. Just shot 37 the other day. But our new guy is Seth Lauer, who played for me back in the early 2000s, went to state every year, played for Florida State, went to tour qualifying school and played in the mini tours and played a lot of pro events. So he's kind of made things a little bit different dynamic, especially with three of our seniors, two of which are going to go Division I. One of them is already signed, is already committed to University of Florida. He'll be a Gator next year.
Oh, who are we talking about here? This is good
Talking
stuff.
about Parker Sievers, who's actually at the Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club. He's going to Florida. And our own Lakewood Nationals, Henry Burby, who is right down the street. His dad is the Dad Joe, greatest guy in the world. He's the head pro director of golf at Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club. So both of those guys, yesterday they played okay and shot 66 and 68. So nice,
come on,
nice
man.
man, right?
Wow. Yeah, the Burby brothers. Yeah, I've been working on Jack. He's been a little bit, I know he's real busy with school and with playing. But we're going to get them on because you know what the neighbors around here at Lakewood National, I know this sounds like inside baseball, but we have a lot of folks that watch Party Time, My Golf Story in the Boston area, Chicago area, everywhere. But like when we post on the local Facebook page for Lakewood, people love the stuff because that's how they get to know their neighbors.
Right.
And when there's youngsters that are growing up and are moving on to bigger and better things, like Max Ben Dixon, for example, he was a previous guest on this. And when I met the boys, and Parker was the one that gave me your number, if you really want to know. They saw that podcast and they liked it, and it helps everybody, doesn't it? Just to know who around you does what, and kind of having like the talking profile just puts a personality and a perspective on it. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's our neighborhood is so great. Everybody's got everybody could be on your show, Kevin. Everybody's got a golf story. It's great. But yeah, the kids have done real well, and we've been very lucky. I mean, we look where we live, especially if you're actually one of those people that's up north. We have two Canadians this year who just moved in and live at Lakewood National. They're on the golf team. Last year, we had a kid from Denmark. That's Max. By the way, a little update: he just won a major tournament in Denmark and finished second. The second tournament that's in their series there.
Well, he was really articulate in our interview. I saw him rolling putts over on the putting green off the Commander course. I'm like, who is this kid? This kid looks like a golfer, and he's well-spoken. His English is absolutely perfect. There's no accent at all. And if you go back and you listen to my interview with him, he is all in. He is all in on golf.
You have to be if you're 16 years old and you move across the world. And he specifically came to Lakewood Ranch because his uncle actually is from Venice. His mom is from Venice, and knew the area. And he chose us and lived right next to the practice green in the verandas there. And he probably dropped 10 shots over 18 holes after he was with us.
Not surprised at all. And part of that is through your tutelage. Now, the players on the team say you run a tight ship. What's going on here?
Well, here's the deal. If you got 14 teenagers and they all want to work on their game and they all want to be the best, it takes a little bit of a management program. And our parents are wonderful, but they have expectations too. So the kids are dealing with a lot. And my job is to create a competitive schedule and kind of give everybody a goal and manage that goal. And I don't really give the kids lessons per se, except for the new kids, the ones I was talking about earlier in the show. But they all have their own pros. But my job is to liaison with that and see what they're working on and just be another set of eyes. And of course, the psychology and the course management part is what coaches are supposed to do, and that's what I do.
Well, you would know that because your teaching profession, you focused on psychology. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I taught AP psychology for the past 14 years. And there's a lot. Some of it is just second nature, like compliment sandwich, which if you some of you can use that on your fellow competitors. If you got a partner, basically it's just a compliment that you start with, and then you got the criticism of how they can do better, and then you end with a positive compliment as well. So that goes a long way. But there's a lot of little things that I'm not going to share in case some of my fellow coaches are watching this that it's funny. Yesterday, Monday, I was in a tournament Saturday, sorry, a local tournament at Founders Club. And the other kids are like, does your coach come around you all the time and talk to you? And they're like, yeah. Doesn't yours? And they're like, no, we never see him. And I'm like, well, sorry, I'm going to be there. We're going to talk about club selection. We're going to talk about strategy. We're going to do it all.
And you're big on metrics. How does that work into the overall program?
Well, basically, it's I have plenty of time on my hands now that I'm not grading papers at night, which is a pattern that I got into for almost 40 years, like I said. So what I do now is whatever scores I come home with, I put those in. I look up their rankings. I check we have a program called I Want to Maker, which does a ranking of all the players and the teams. I do some scouting to see what kind of scores those teams are shooting, so I can kind of tell the guys which tournaments are bigger to get up for because of teams that will be there to challenge them. And I look at their trends and what kind of scores they're shooting. But a lot of it is to make sure that everybody knows where they stand, because there's a lot, not to get back to AP psychology, but there's a lot of stress on the golf team if you don't know, where you are. So probably twice a week, I put that metrics out there on our text thread. I have a text thread for the green team and the silver team. And so they know where they stand.
That helps them, and that probably helps parents too, because sometimes parents can get a little bit involved, and it's hard to argue with metrics, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got some kids that are very close together when we look at their averages, but we also know what kind of way they're swinging the club. We know how they're putting. We know how their psychology is working on the golf course. So there is some, there's some intangibles that we try to make tangible. But the number one thing that's great about golf is when you have tryouts, you can just go by score. But the kids we took were fantastic. They all were just so excited to make the team and want to work hard.
They're definitely putting in the work, because I'm seeing them doing it in the chipping areas on the putting greens. It looks like they're playing some games among each other, which keeps it interesting and competitive. Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. But the high school golf, as you describe it to me, all these tournaments, the travel and everything. When I played, now I'm a product of the 80s. It was just, we were just playing the local high school. It was a 12-hole match because we had limited sunlight and everything, and that was it. And then at the end we had districts, and then we had the state tournament. But you got like a different it sounds more like college to me than it is high school.
I try to run it like a college, except we're not getting up at 5:00 and have to go to the weight room and that kind of stuff in college, but the deal, basically the way it happened, and this is a short version, around 2010, we had only played in one or two tournaments, and we went to the state championship, and we finished second. We were runner up. And I remember talking to other coaches, and they're like, "Well, there's this tournament, there's that tournament," and I'm like, "Well, I'm only playing a couple of away tournaments," and then so we being runner up, we got invited to some stuff. We got invited to the Honda tournament at PGA National in 2011. We went to like 6 or 7 tournaments all over the state in 2011. We won every one of them. We were undefeated that year, and then we went on to win our very first state championship. And we won it again in 2012, and we won it again in 2013, with the building blocks of the idea that we're a tournament team because that's like a state champion. That's like a state tournament every year, or every time we go and play. So you've got an 18-hole tournament or a 36-hole tournament. So what I do now is I have the more experienced players be my tournament players, and I have the ones that are less experienced will play the match. We'll play in a lot of matches, which are 9-hole matches.
Man, that sounds like a well-oiled machine. That was a lot to unpack, but so 3 state titles and a couple close calls.
Right. 2011, we lost by 6.
Mhm.
Last year, we lost by a lot. This team was just unbelievable. They shot like 3 over par for 2 days for 5 golfers. That's just crazy. But they're not in our classification this year, so they dropped down. They dropped down to 2A. So we're looking good. We're actually ranked third in the state right now. You know,
that's
all classes together. Yeah, it's early though. It's early.
It's early, but you got momentum. I mean, you're winning just about everything. So, and winning breeds more winning. Dave Frantz is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. And the Golf Real Estate Pros from suncoastdreams.com, Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh. If your dream is to live in a place like Lakewood National Golf Club, and there's no better place, you can take my word for it. You can take Dave's word for it. We all know it, and everybody else does. Get in touch with Vince and Gene, and I think Gene may be making a guest appearance coming up in a little bit. Dave, let's talk about your golf story, your personal golf story. Where does it start?
My dad was a golfer. Didn't really play that very well. He was shot about 80 usually, but my brother was really good from day one, and he's 7 years older than me. We did not get along per se as brothers since there's such a large age difference between us. And we have 2 older sisters as well. So big family. I did not really play a lot of golf until my brother moved, actually took a pro job down here in actually over at Old El Conquistador, which is now IMG Academy. And he moved there after he worked on Palmair on the East Coast. And then he became a pro at Palmair and Bobcat Trail and Venice Golf and Country Club. So he's been in the area. He was in the area for a long time. But anyway, I followed him to Florida in '82 and played in all 4 years in high school, captain, senior year and so forth, and played a lot. In college, I didn't really star or play on the team. I was one of the guys that made it to the last cut. But I kind of focused on, I was in student government, ran for student senate and fraternity and all that cool stuff. And when I moved to Florida, I had to decide whether I'm going to stay with the teaching career or go into golf as a golf pro. And I started looking at how hard my brother worked. And I started looking at how he was doing 10-hour days, 6 days a week. And I kind of was like, I think I'll try the teaching and then be a golf coach because I've always loved golf and I felt like I had something to offer. So I was actually a golf coach when I was 24 years old.
Holy smokes. You went to college at Marshall University?
Yes, Marshall University. Yes, I was there during the plane crash, but I wasn't in school. My brother was. My brother was actually in school. He was in 1970. Started college there when the plane crash happened. So, yeah. It was devastating.
For those of a certain age, just rehash what happened so everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Well, I would strongly suggest you go get We Are Marshall, which is probably the best football movie. Of course, I'm prejudiced. It is better than Rudy, in my opinion. But basically, the football team finished a late game in East Carolina, and flew home, and it was rainy, and the pilots, there was an error in the way that they landed, and they hit the mountain, and everybody on board died. There were some leaders of our community of Huntington, West Virginia, which geographically, just so you guys know, that's the westernmost city in the state, and the whole football team, and some parents of our friends that we went to high school with, and they all passed away. Um, and the rebuilding of from the ashes, we've come a long way. We won the Division II national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Chad Pennington, Randy Moss, those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the Thundering Herd is
Right.
definitely back.
And we want to get Ohio State this weekend, so who knows what's going to happen there? That's going to be
well. Look what happened with Northern Illinois and
that's right.
and Notre Dame. All right, so it can happen.
Appalachian State beating Michigan back in 2008.
I remember that well. So who knows about the Thundering Herd? But let's go back when your relationship. You talked about your relationship with your brother. He was a hell of a player. Was when you started getting hooked on golf, was he who you looked up to because he was close to you at that point, and you're like, man, if I could be a fraction of the player that he is, I'd be pretty good.
Ironically, when he moved away, we got closer. And every time he actually worked up in Michigan during the summertime, and then he worked in Florida in the wintertime. So he always came back and forth twice. I can remember getting a golf lesson out in the snow in West Virginia when he was headed back down in November. We talked about golf. He looked at my swing. When I became a golf coach, we would do the VHS tapes, and I would tape my kids. I was a coach at Southeast High School at that time in the late 80s and early 90s, or throughout the 90s. And we just diagnosed every part of these kids' swing. That's where I learned how to give lessons. That's where I learned the game of how to actually give a lesson and how to recognize issues, was by stopping that VHS. And a lot of you guys that are watching the show, you're old enough to remember that, trying to pause it and see your swing in different frames as you go.
You can't quite get it, and you back it up, and
it's tough. But we had a great time. We'd spend 5 or 6 hours doing 10 guys on the team. It was a blast.
So we had a really good golf instructor on the program just recently, and this made the rounds throughout the neighborhood, and people loved it. They chimed in, commented on Facebook and everything. Mike McClellan, director of instruction here at Lakewood National Golf Club. Is there a backstory with Mike?
Well, first of all, he's my golf pro. So, physicians, doctors should not be seeing themselves as patients and treat themselves. So I'm not going to treat myself. I learned a long time ago that I'm not going to be able to recognize things that even with video. He's my golf pro, but let's go back. So 1984, he's a senior at Cardinal Mooney, and I took my player from Southeast, and I met him at the regional championship, and actually coached against him at the regional championship that year. So I had known him. We weren't good enough at Southeast to play Cardinal Mooney. They were awesome, and Mike was leading that team. So we weren't good enough, but I've known him since, and that's kind of crazy that he's given me lessons, and I knew him when he was 17.
It's small world, and golf double shrinks the world, and then particular places can triple shrink it. I asked him this, and I want to ask you, because in addition to your coaching duties, you do a lot of lessons at Heritage Harbour Golf Club on 64, right by 75. What's your jumping in point when you have a new student? How do you start the lesson?
Well, you have to know where the student's coming from and what they're expecting. That's the big thing, is expectations. So I remember I saw your podcast with Mike, and I thought it was really great because Mike generally does the same kind of things that I do, or I should say I do what Mike does, because he's the best. So you have to figure out what the students' expectations are. And we have a lot of people, adults that come to us, and they want to just start hitting the ball right away. And the problem is they haven't learned the grip. They haven't learned the setup. They haven't learned what the motion of the body to actually make the swing. So starting small and working larger is pretty much the way I go. But I do have some adults who are impatient to do that, or have already started to play golf, in which case I ask them right up front. The starting point is, do you want a Band-Aid lesson? Just fixing things that, just like fixing leaks that you've got, or do you have the time, and do you have the drive to get better, to know what your basic core problems are and be able to try and fix them? and that takes some soul searching from the client, because
Mhm.
you got to, because now you're a partnership, and now it's working together.
I want to take you back to your brother, because he's no longer with us. Can you share the story about his loss, the impact it had on you, but ultimately his loss may have saved your life too?
Yeah. Will was a huge practicer. I just needed to set the stage. First of all, he's my hero. He was the guy I looked up to my whole life, and I was lucky enough to play a lot of golf with him. We used to play a lot of North Florida PGA events. I was an amateur. I had an amateur career for a long time until I started teaching. And I don't play pro events. I play, I play just for fun. But he played for money and made quite a bit of money. He played in 14 majors. Now I'm counting senior majors. Three actual PGAs, two of which I caddied for him, the 93 and the 94 PGA, a whole bunch of Disney Worlds and Bay Hills and Hondas. So he was a big practicer. He loved golf. He was teacher of the year, North Florida PGA Player of the Year many times. But so he started having some pain that he was thinking it came from practicing too much in his back. And it turns out that it was untreated and gone untreated so long. It was cancer, and we are fairly sure it was started in the prostate. Which he was not a person, sadly, that that went to the doctor regularly, and he died in March of 2017. Up to that point, I'm a doctor person. My wife, Melissa, is a nurse practitioner, so I get regular checkups, and of course, we all know of Arnold Palmer's struggles, and a campaign for prostate awareness. And it turns out that my PSA was so high that I had a prostatectomy, and I'm fairly certain it saved my life.
How often do you think about him? And when you're giving a lesson, do you kind of hear his voice in your head?
I hear his voice more when I'm playing golf, because he was really good, but he was good at pointing out. He was good at the compliment sandwich, actually, but a lot of it was shorthand. Was Dave, your short game stinks, that kind of thing, which it does. I love being here at Lakewood National. We can putt from off the green a lot of places, so it's awesome. But yeah, it as I've gone on, it's been 7 years now, and I think of him quite frequently. But a lot of times I'm so in depth in what I'm doing that it doesn't really resonate with me. But then when I see my sister. My sister lives right next to me. We're in the same coach homes, and it comes. I think of him pretty much at least once a week, where I'm thinking, what would Will be saying? What would Will have me do? How would I play this shot? And even just, I'll be here. I'm on 13 Piper, and I'll see people go by, and I'll see somebody that sets up like my brother, and I'm like, wow, it looks, just like you see it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's profound. How is your golf nowadays, Dave?
Well, last year I looked on my handicap list, and I found that I didn't play in August, September, and October, and I didn't play until after the state championship. This year I pledged to create more time for me to be able to play. So I'm going to play tomorrow. I'm playing in some of the. I think we have another event this weekend at the club. I've got a scramble on Monday at Ritz Carlton. So I'm going to try and play more. I'm about a 6 handicap. It's just as likely that I'll shoot 82 as I shoot 79. So it's frustrating because in my mind, the 80s are horrible and the 70s are okay. So
What's the best round of golf you ever shot? And take me there. I want to feel it. What was going on? Where were you? Who were you with? What were you thinking?
Well, that's a trick question. I didn't tell you about this in our setup when we were talking about this, but I did have 31 at Bay Hill in the state amateur. And it was on the back nine. And I know people are going to go, oh, you're full of it, but I should have birdied every hole. I actually lipped out 2 other holes. And then I won't tell you what I shot on the other side because I was so nervous being 5 under par after coming into number 18. But suffice to say that I missed the cut at the state amateur that year by 1 shot. But my favorite one is probably, I have had a 64 and I had a 66 in a tournament in Ohio once across the river from Huntington and Forest Hills, which isn't there anymore. But my favorite round is 68 on Memorial Day and Memorial Day weekend in 93 because it was with my brother. And he gave me 1 tip before we teed off, and I proceeded to spank him by 3 shots, and it was awesome.
That's fantastic. I hope you reminded him about that through the years.
I had him sign my scorecard. It's actually behind me. And there's a picture of us with our sister, and I'm grinning like the Cheshire Cat, and he's kind of like not really smiling much.
That's fantastic. That's so good. All right, Dave, we're kind of winding it down here. Tell me about some past players that you've had, and do you keep in touch, and who should we be watching out for?
Yeah, we've got a lot of players from those championship years, but also I've got probably 3 or 4 PGA members. I've got a bunch of kids who went D1, but probably the best known is Danny Walker, who currently sits at 28th on the Korn Ferry Tour. He has 3 more events. That's 2 regular events and then the Tour Championship. And he will, if he holds that spot, he'll have his PGA Tour card.
That'd be cool. And he can join Kevin Roy, who's been a guest 2 times on Party Time, My Golf Story, who also lives in Lakewood Ranch and plays a lot of golf. His dad lives right down the street from me on Mulligan Way. He's
cool thing I have to mention about Danny, he won the state championship every year he was in high school. He won it as an individual in 2010, and then he won 3 in a row with us on our team.
Dang. That's good stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right, Dave, last question.
Yeah.
What does golf mean to you? How important is it to you in your life?
It's been a constant that I've always had. I think sometimes I've taken it for granted, whether it's my game or what I do for a living. It has occasionally been an obsession. There's some times where I was busy coaching and didn't get to do some things with my family or my son Noah, who's now 24. But it's the day-to-day existence of having that in my life, and not so much my game anymore because I've had my playing days. It's what keeps me going from day to day.
I'm with you on that. Like my story with caddying, my competitive days are done. And a lot of people say, wait, why do you caddy? And it's like, for me, I'm playing golf. I'm just not hitting the shots. And when I read a putt for somebody, and if I can get them turned around, it means the world to me because it's in me. It lives in me, and it sounds like it lives within you. Is that fair enough?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Dave, continued great success. I'm glad we finally got together. I'd like you to come back sometime. And if it's because you won another state championship, we can talk all about that and we can break it down. And maybe, just maybe, you'll give up some of that secret sauce of like the golf psychology that you share only with your teammates and you don't want the word getting out. But just a smidgen. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, Dave Frantz has been our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story. Big thanks to him, and a big thanks to the Golf Real Estate Pros, Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh, suncoastdreams.com. If you want to live in a great place and play golf with a guy like Dave Frantz, golf coach at Lakewood Ranch High School, Lakewood National Golf Club is your place, and Gene and Vince are your realtors. And Party Drinks, if you're looking for a great drink alternative on the golf course, Party is for you. For Dave Frantz, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
This is Vince Fizzicaro and Gene Walsh with the SuncoastDreams.com real estate team at Fine Properties. We've helped hundreds of families find their dream homes in golf and resort communities in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Sarasota, Parrish, Venice, and the surrounding areas.
Let us be your guides to finding your dream home here as well. Learn more at suncoastdreams.com or call us at 941-220-4000.